Hey everyone, Carl back with Littleroot Lessons, bringing you a deep dive featuring Xerneas. Today starts the whole Series 10 spiel, getting ready for that because that format's coming up in a few weeks. And we figured we'd start with some of the more popular Pokemon. Xerneas got requested and was on my list of things to cover as Series 10 just got started because Xerneas has just been popping up everywhere for Series 10 events. But before we get it all started on that, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. It's free and it helps us out a lot. We're doing better and I want to keep up on YouTube and keep doing it better with that. So, Xerneas. Xerneas is a Fairy-type Pokemon from Gen 6. It's the Fairy-type Legendary. It's the Box Legend, whatever you want to call it. It's a very, very powerful restricted option in Series 10, as no Dynamax has kind of introduced this Steel types are bad, quote-unquote, scenario, where you don't want to run these Steel types because they don't Dynamax anymore, so they don't get these crazy defense boosts. Which, in turn, means Xerneas' natural predators, in like Metagross and Celesteela and other things like that, just aren't around and just aren't as popular anymore. When paired with Redirection, Xerneas gets to do its powerful sweeper thing with Geomancy. That's kind of all Xerneas really ever does, as we'll get to see when we move into the Metagame Breakdown. But outside of just setting up, you gotta be always wary of the Fairy Stab moves off of Xerneas because of its ability Fairy Aura. It's essentially just giving them a super boost. So if it gets Geomancy up plus Fairy Aura, a lot of teams just can't deal with the sheer amount of power that Xerneas can put out. Its history, we only got to see it like a little bit in Series 8, and it was usually paired with like Indeedee. And it's kind of struggled to get back into its offensive sweeper role over the course of Series 8. However, it's poised to make a comeback in Series 10 as it has a bunch of new tools, no Dynamax. Everything kind of just is lining up for Xerneas to be a very, very powerful Pokemon right now. When you're looking at partners for Xerneas, Redirection is like a must-have. Things like Volcarona, Indeedee, Amoonguss, and stuff like that. Anything with Rage Powder or Follow Me is just a very good option. We'll talk about Volcarona in more detail on Friday, but for now, just think of Volcarona is the best partner for Xerneas right now. Outside of Redirection users, though, you kind of want to look towards ground types as kind of checks for Xerneas' weaknesses in Poison and Steel. Landorus Eye has been a very good switch-in for that kind of stuff because it takes those hits really well, and having Stab Earth Power off of Sheer Force and Life Orb means it can take care of almost anything in front of it. Fake Out's also another good tool. Incineroar, Rillaboom, things like that are common partners to go alongside it just because they're very good defensive Pokemon with good utility and can just overall deal with a lot of things in the format. Looking at the metagame breakdown for Xerneas, you see that the first 4 moves are like upper 90s. Nothing comes close to those 4. And then you have Flash Cannon and Thunderbolt. Grass Knot can be thrown in that equation too in that low 2% range, just as like random coverage moves. I have heard of people playing Rock Slide on Xerneas, which is not unheard of. Xerneas' attack stat is also really, really high. It's just Geomancy boosted special attack, special defense, and speed more than anything else, so you kind of want to run with that. As for items, Power Herb every time, no questions asked. This is the best item to run because you have Geomancy on your Xerneas almost all the time. Being able to get those Geomancies off in 1 turn instead of 2 turns is a really big deal in this format, especially with no Dynamax to try and take hits or try and punish it with a base 130 Steel type move. As mentioned earlier, when you're building with Xerneas, you really want to make sure you check for its weaknesses, covering those with like things like Incineroar, Landorus, Celesteela, Aegislash, anything that kind of just looks and blocks poison or ground is just, or poison or steel is just a really good option. Redirection is a must. You cannot get away with this most of the time. A lot of the times, it's just like if you don't have Redirection, your Xerneas is just fodder for the rest of for your opponent's team. Like I mentioned earlier, Volcarona is super common, as it happens to deal with Steel types very, very well as well, specifically Zacian. And when you're playing with Xerneas, don't get too trigger happy. This game is not a turn 1 Dynamax format, go, go, go all the time mode anymore. Yes, games are very, very fast, but on the flip side of that, games can also be drawn out and become very, very slow and grindy. And if your Xerneas doesn't get set up properly, or like it gets whirlwinded out, or your boosts get removed, Xerneas kind of becomes lackluster in the face of these really bulky steel types, these really bulky poison types and whatnot. So make sure you have proper positioning before you pull that trigger to try and win the game. Looking at move sets for Xerneas, this first set here is max special attack, max speed, do the fairy geomancy thing, win the game. That's literally all this set does. It tries to be the fastest it can do and deal the most damage it can do. Moving into these other two sets though, they both kind of do defensive things over being the fastest thing in the format. This second set here, after you get a geomancy up, will outspeed Regieleki, max speed Timid Regieleki still, while also being able to 2-hit KO opposing Xerneas, but not going down to them. So you 3-hit KO against them, but you 2-hit KO them back. So you win that race eventually. Like, you may underspeed, but in the 2 hits they take to deal to you, you can take them out in that time. The third set here survives a neutral Behemoth Blade from Zacian, from Adamant Zacian, which is saying a lot because this thing, it hits like a truck. So if you can intimidate that Zacian, you will take that Behemoth Blade with this set, according to my calcs anyway. Again, you're still trying to do the Geomancy thing. You still hit like a truck. If I remember correctly, the roll is after a Geomancy. If you can Helping Hand boost, you can OHKO opposing Zacian pretty easily. So just things to think about there. Beating Xerneas, not Zacian. Xerneas' partners are usually more on the supportive side, so make sure to overwhelm them with just powerful spread damage. Things like Kyogre's very, very good against him. You could do other like speed control with like Regieleki and Electroweb. That's a good option. Icy Wind, Earthquake's a fine option, things like that. Good checks to Xerneas are the Steel types and Fire types, since they both resist Fairy. Volcarona, on the opposite side, is a good check here because it somewhat walls Xerneas and forces spread moves out to try and get damage out because you have that redirection against it. Notable thing is Volcarona also has Whirlwind. It's a very good check that you just send Xerneas away and pull something else out. Speaking of Whirlwind, forcing a switch on that Geomancy turn is huge. You get him to consume that Power Herb, and then you just send them back and remove the boosts entirely. Xerneas isn't as scary with the boosts, without the boosts, but you need to be careful because it still has that stab, Fairy Aura boosted damage output that can really cause problems for a lot of teams. To wrap up with Xerneas here, it's looking to be a super powerful option for Series 10 and a must-answer threat, but it isn't as unstoppable as it seems on paper. Make sure to have redirection for your Xerneas teams and proper positioning before, so you don't get forced out on accident after you've Geomancied. And when you're going to fight against it, remember to force it out is the best option you have, but make sure to keep up pressure. Geomancy still goes off if it gets used. It's not like I can only use it once kind of situation. If they get switched out and you can't apply pressure, they can just Geomancy again in front of you because they don't fear you. Make sure to at least put up the pressure and keep on that Xerneas, otherwise it will just take over the game. And with that being said, I want to thank everyone for hanging out and listening to me ramble about Xerneas today. Make sure to check us out on Twitter. All of our handles are there on screen. Discord link is down below. Draft League's signups are ending soon. If you're interested in a non-restricted format with Dynamax, come check out our fair and square draft format. It's going to be a blast. And remember to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, comment down below who you want to see me cover. Series 10 Pokemon is kind of what we're looking towards, but anything's fine. And with that being said, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever in the world, and we will see you all on Friday with Volcarona. Bye, guys.